Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Dynamics 365 Tech Talk. Today's topic is Product Retirement Process Using Engineering Change Management in Dynamics 365 SCM. My name is David, and I'll be your moderator today. We're broadcasting this event through Teams live events, and the audio can be heard through your device speakers. This session is being recorded on behalf of the Microsoft Corporation. When you join this event, your name, email address, and/or phone number may be viewable by other session participants in the attendee list. By joining, you're agreeing to this experience. The recording will be available on the Tech Talks Community Dynamics page within the coming weeks. If you have questions for the presenters or need support, please use the Q&A panel located on the right side of your screen. Our presenters will be responding to your questions at the end of today's event. Thank you for your patience during these announcements. Presenting for us today from Microsoft, we have Krupke, Senior Solutions Architect, Laul, Senior Solutions Architect, and Hiren, Naik, Senior Solutions Architect. Anne, over to you.
Thanks, David. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're joining us from today. We're really excited to present the fourth and final Tech Talk in our ECM series today, which is on the product retirement process using engineering change management and Dynamics 365 supply chain management. Let's get started. As I mentioned, this Tech Talk is the last in a series of 4 Tech Talks that we've done on engineering change management. In this session, we'll cover the product retirement, also called obsolescence process in engineering change management. If you missed any of our previous Tech Talks, they are now available on the Dynamics 365 community page. The link for the recordings will be provided at the end of the presentation in the resource slot. And of course, it wouldn't be an engineering change management Tech Talk if we didn't have a riddle today. Our riddle is, what do you call a retired vegetable? Feel free to put your guesses in the chat and the answer will be revealed at the end of the session. We're going to kick off our presentation today by reviewing the business process for retiring products using engineering change management and talk about a couple examples. Then I'm going to pass it over to Hiren to demo the product retirement process as well with using product lifecycle states to control transactions. And then Meenu will do a demo as well. We're also going to, at the end, talk about engineering change management implementation scenarios and implementation guidance, as well as the data migration process. So talking about going live without engineering change management and enabling it, or enabling it as part of your initial implementation. And then at the end, we'll wrap up with useful resources and have time to answer any questions that you may have. So let's get started by reviewing the product retirement process and the couple of scenarios that we're going to show you in the demo. To start, let's walk through the high-level business process of product retirement. Normally, we decide to retire our product when we're doing a periodic review of our product offerings and looking at whether it makes sense to keep selling that product or not. The first thing we're going to do once we decide to retire a product is to create the change documentation and start our paper trail of product obsolescence. Then we will route that change through any relevant departments for approval. For example, we might want to alert marketing so they can update our catalogs to remove the retired item, or we want to update sales so they can change their product forecasts. Once we've gotten approval to retire the item, we need to identify whether there's an item that would be sold as an alternative. So that way we can update the product record to drive sales to the alternative or replacement product. We will also need to determine what to do with any remaining stock or work in progress orders for our inventory for the item that we're making obsolete. And then once we've gone through all of those processing steps, we will finish by updating our product lifecycle state to reflect that it's now obsolete. We don't ever want to delete old products from Dynamics because we want to keep the transaction history integrity. So all we need to do is update the product so that it can no longer be sold or produced. Now let's walk through one of the specific examples that we're going to be showing in the demo later. So in this case, we've decided we want to retire our item, and we're going to create an engineering change order to make the updates to the product. We'll discuss the remaining inventory situation, and we determine that it's not worth trying to sell it because it's slow moving and not very high value. So we want to just scrap it and mark it obsolete. In the engineering change order, we're going to mark the new product lifecycle state should be the obsolete state, which is going to prevent users from posting any transactions on the item. We'll run through the approvals process and process the engineering change order, which will push the updates out from the engineering company into our operational companies. And then in each operational company, we will use a movement journal linked to a scrap account to write off our remaining on-hand inventory. Here is a screenshot that we set up of the product lifecycle state called obsolete. And you'll notice that on the policy section, all of our transactions will be blocked if a product has this lifecycle state. Now let's talk through another scenario of the product retirement process that we'll be demoing. In this example, we're still going to create an engineering change order because that's our business process for recording the retirement. But in this example, we want to sell the remaining inventory at a discount and mark the product as end of life instead of fully obsolete. Once the inventory is all sold, then we will mark it obsolete. And then what we're going to do after we create the change order is we'll update the info in the change order to reflect the new lifecycle state to end of life. And then we'll run the engineering change order approvals and process the change order, which again pushes the updates out to the operational companies. And then in each operational company, we'll create a trade agreement with a line type of discount to sell all of our remaining stock at a 50% discount so we can move it faster. And here we can see, again, we've created a product lifecycle state called end of life. So in this case, we want to allow sales of inventory, but we don't want to produce or purchase any more inventory. And also when we sell it, we want it enabled with a warning so sales reps know that it's end of life. As I mentioned before, we will come back once all of our stock is sold and then mark it obsolete with the obsolete lifecycle state, which will block any transactions from happening. Now I'm going to hand it over to Hiren to walk us through how workflows work for ECM.
Thanks, Anne. So before we jump into the demo, we want to quickly discuss workflow capabilities we have available out of the box in the engineering change management module. Out of the box, we have two workflows which we can configure in the system. One is the change request workflow and other is the change order workflow. We will just show you today the change order workflow steps and approval steps. So if we look at the change order workflow, there are different approval steps and tasks available to achieve maximum control and automation in the whole process, be it a new engineering product launch process or a product change process or a retirement process. So very first we have is approve change order step. This step is actually approving the change order. Once the change order is submitted with the product impact details and BOMs and route and other product information, next step in this change order workflow process is approval. Approval can be assigned to a specific user, group of users, for example, like product managers or product owners, depending on the approval process you establish in your organization. Next step is the process change. This step executes after the change order is approved. This is an automated step which will create the engineering product and engineering product version and all the related details such as BOM, formula, route in the engineering organization. Next step is process dependency. So this is a task which is a placeholder to complete any dependency of a specific change. For example, if product formula is changing, then as a product manager, you can identify the business impact if there are any open transactions such as sales order or open orders or purchase orders, then you can notify relevant person responsible to either stop shipping the product or maybe inform a production supervisor to stop the production itself. The next task is the release or activate product. Once the dependencies are taken care, then the new engineering product version needs to be activated into the engineering organization. Note that this task is just a placeholder to activate the version. It does not automatically activate the product version, but once this task is assigned to a user or a group of users, underlying assumption will be that business impact has been evaluated, related dependency have been processed, and engineering product version can now be activated in the engineering organization. Next, the steps we have in the workflow are collect and process release proposal. This automation step release the new version of the engineering product to the operational legal entity based on the release policy setup. This automation works if product impact is either none or new variant or a new product from an existing product, meaning the product has been at least released once. So if you create completely new product in the change order, then that new product requires the release product structure function to be executed manually, available on the change order form. Creating and releasing a proposal does not release the product to the operational legal entity automatically as part of the workflow if it is a completely new product. And the last step we have in the workflow is complete the change order. This step will basically mark the change order as complete so that nobody can make any changes to the change order and we can finalize our change order. You will get to understand more about these approval steps and automation steps in our demo today. Now I will hand over to Meenu to show us the first demo.
Thank you, Hiren. In the first demo, we are showcasing that company has decided to stop selling keyboard old design, which has repeated complaints. So we are obsoleting that item and do not want to plan to sell that in the future. We'll showcase a business process through change order that will update the product lifecycle to obsolete. Product business impact will be evaluated, and if there are open transactions, that will be stopped. Since we are not selling that item, we want to make sure that remove the product from the retail catalog so that marketing cannot market that anymore. We want to remove it from the product hierarchy so that it's not available to sell in our brick and mortar store or online store. And we also want to make sure that we scrap the remaining inventory from each operational company. For this process, we'll be utilizing the workflows that will showcase how we can automate the process of approvals and releasing an item. So let's just walk through a demo. So first step is we'll go ahead and show you guys, we'll find the product which we want to obsolete. So we'll search for the keyboard. We are obsoleting here is C0099. We'll look at the engineering versions. And there we'll show you that this particular V01 color black, that's what we are obsoleting for this demo. And if you notice, the current product state is operational. Now, as decided, we're going to go through the work order. That way, we have a proper approvals in the process. So we'll go to engineering change order. From there, we'll create a new change order. And we'll give a little descriptive title that makes easy to say. We'll say keyboard obsolete work change order. That's how, depending upon how you want to do it, but just an example, we'll give a little descriptive title. That way, it's easy to find it. And then after we do that, we'll just put the severity as normal or medium, whichever makes sense for your business and how you want to process it. So in our case, we'll just put minimal or normal. So after we do that, we'll go ahead and add a new existing products. So we'll click on new and add existing product, and we'll find the right one with the variant, right? If I just try to put C009, it's not going to like it because it has a different color and versions, right? So I'll search for the one which we want to do, and we'll make sure that we put the right one, which is a black one. So after we put that, you would notice that the current operational cycle is operational. The current product life cycle is operational. We are changing it to absolute. So we'll go ahead and change that. After we do that, we'll save it and make sure we validate it before we submit it to workflow so that there is no issue with the validation of the workflow itself. So we'll go ahead and the next step is we'll go ahead and submit it for the workflow for the approvals. So you can put the comments as optional. We'll just do it that way. It's easy to recognize again. So we'll go ahead and put the comments in there. Once this is submitted, the person who's a product owner or manager, as mentioned by Hiren, could be anyone or a group. So we'll go to a common. The easy way to find is go to common and look at it, work items assigned to you. You will look that there is already a work item there. From there itself, you can click it and that would change. That would just take you to a change order. And there you would notice that we have approval, we have delegate, reject. In our scenario, we'll go ahead and approve it, but their option in case if it doesn't like it, they can reject it and whatnot, right? So we'll put the comment and say approve. As mentioned by Hiren, that after you do the approve, we have two tasks that needs to happen, right? We want to make sure the business impact. So the next task will kick off. So we're going to accept the task. Once we accept that task, we'll go ahead and manually doing the business impact and make sure that product is not in any of our transaction that we have. We'll go ahead and inform them and make sure they're aware of that we are obsoleting the product. In our case, we don't have any of sales order or purchase order because we already decided it. And then once we finish that, we'll go ahead and complete that task. So that's a manual step we have to do. And the reason behind is we want to make sure there's no business impact. And the next step is we want to make sure that we activate the newer version, which is the obsolete version in our engineering company. So we are accepting the task. Now we'll go to our engineering versions. Once we go to engineering version, VO1 will notice that product lifecycle state has been changed to obsolete. And we'll come back and complete that task. Once we complete that task, it's going to release it from operational company to, engineering company to operational company. And now, if I go back to my workflow history, I would notice that my workflow has been completed. So it's going to showcase like, okay, you would notice that workflow has been completed. That shows it's the end of workflow. And now I would try going to my company, USMF company, which is my operational company. I will go and look for that release product. So I'll go to engineering change management. From there, I'll go to release product and try finding the same product here. And I'll go to my engineering version just to be sure that one is obsolete. Make sure we go to the correct version and the color. So you would notice that product lifecycle has been updated to obsolete in our operational company. So just to keep things cleaner, I'll go back to my engineering company and I'll look for that work order. So I'll go back to a work order again and try completing that. That's the next step. It's preferable to always close the things if you don't want to change it. We don't want to change our order again. So we want to make sure we complete that change order before we move further down. So once we complete that finish our change order or work order altogether. So the next step is we want to make sure that if we have any inventory, we want to scrap it, as mentioned by Anne. So we'll go to our movement journal and we'll create a scrap journal. So always to keep it cleaner, I would suggest that to have a special scrap movement journal. That way you can easily identify what you have done to that product. That way if you want to post it to a special GL account for scrapping, you could do that too. So I'll go ahead and put that item. And again, want to make sure that it's the correct version and the color we want to absolute. So as you notice that there is one quantity on hand. So we'll go ahead and do the negative of that. That way we are taking it out of the inventory. So once you do that, we'll go ahead and post it. I did get an error which is related to item model group, but that we can fix it later. But that's the process you would follow. So you'll go to every single operational company you have item. You want to make sure that you scrap that inventory. So we have done only one operational company. In the real world scenario, if you have more than one operational company, you want to make sure you scrap that inventory. And here we are removing it from the product hierarchy. That way it doesn't show in our brick and mortar store or an e-commerce channel. That concludes the demo for the first scenario. I'm going to hand over to Hiren for the next demo. Thank you.
Thanks, Meenu. Now let us review our second example. In this demo, our scenario is that company is no longer planning to offer USB Type A charging cable, as industry standard is shifting towards more of a USB Type C charging cable, and demand has significantly reduced. Hence, USB Type A charging cable is reaching its end of life. So we'll showcase the business process through change order that product lifecycle state will be updated to the end of life. Product business impact will be evaluated, and if there are any open purchase orders, those will be stopped. as well as companies planning to offer discount for the remaining stock. Hence, any new sales order transactions will be allowed for this product, which is in the end of life state, and any future sales orders will have a discounted price. We'll also see using the workflow how we can automate the change order approval and how product update in the changing engineering organization will be released to the operational legal entity. So we will again look at the existing item which we have, which we would like to update it to the end of life. So we'll go into the release products and we'll look for our product called SCM USB Type A cable. So we'll just search for that product into the release products and we can look at the different versions which we have available. So we are focusing on the version 1 of the red colored cable. So if you can see this engineering version, this product lifecycle state is currently operational. That means the transactions are allowed on this particular product. So this we will change it to the end of life. Another setup which you'd like to see is product lifecycle state. So we'll go into the product lifecycle state and here we have set up the end of life. And as you can see, we will only allow the sales order process, that is also with the warning. We will not allow any other transactions to do on this particular item. So that's why we are going to set this one as blocked so that no inventory transfer or inventory journals can be done on this particular item when we update it to the end of life. Okay, so now we have changed our setup to only allow the sales order with the warning. So when you create a sales order, it even gives you warning, but it will allow you to proceed forward. Now we will move into our engineering organization and we'll start our business process by creating a new change order process. So we'll go ahead and to the engineering change management, we'll create a new engineering change order and we'll start creating a new change order. So we'll just create a new change order. We'll give a title saying that for USB type A cable, we are changing the end of status or product lifecycle state to the end of life. So some meaningful title. And then we'll basically specify other attributes on the change order header, such as severity. We'll keep the severity as normal in this case. Now we'll go ahead and add our product which is impacted. So we'll do add existing product. We'll search our USB type A cable product and we'll choose the right variant. So in this case, it's red. As you can see, the impact is none, but really what we want to change on this product is the product lifecycle state. So we'll change it to the end of life. As a product engineer, you can add any other details if you want to change it. But in this case, our example is to just change the end of life product lifecycle state. So once I'm good with the all the changes, I will go ahead and submit the workflow. Now, as soon as you submit the workflow, you can basically route this workflow for approval to various users. As I mentioned, it can be a specific user, it can be a group of users, or it can be product managers, product owners. So in this case, what we are going to do is if the work order is or the change order is assigned to a product owner needs to basically look at their work item queues. So for that, we can go into the commons module and we can go into the work items assigned to me. So this is where you will see if there are any approvals or work item tasks which are assigned to me, I will be able to see here in my queue. So once the approval workflow runs behind the scenes, you will see basically a new line item here for a change order approval. So as you can see, we have a change order 95, which is coming to the queue and it is in open state and we need to approve this engineering change order. So as a product owner, you can basically go and look at the change order. You can see all the details. It's basically updating into the end of life. And if everything is good from the product owner perspective, he is going to go ahead and basically approve this change order. So this change order is approved for this item. Now, if you remember in our workflow setup, the next process in this workflow approval is basically complete couple of dependency tasks. One is the process all the dependencies, and another is actually the release or activate the item into the engineering organization. So we should see the first task which should be assigned to me, which is process all dependency. So what we will do as part of this step, So as you can see, I have a new task assigned called check business impact before I proceed further in this change order. So I will just open this change order, and as part of this step, I would like to make sure that I accept this step because I want to do it. There is possibility there are multiple approvers, but whoever is accept can basically go ahead and proceed further. So as a part of process dependency task, I'm going to check the business impact. As you can see, I have a sales order, but this is already an order, so I don't want to mess it up. We will ship this order, but any future orders we will restrict. But I do want to stop the purchase order. We don't want to purchase this item any longer because we are changing it to the end of life. And similarly, I will block the purchase order line, and I will notify the purchase manager that we don't want to purchase this item any longer. So that way you have identified your business impact and you have processed it. So now, once we have done this process business impact, another thing which you can do is we want to make sure that in the USMF company, we want to create a discount journal, right? Because we want to, for any future sales orders, we don't want to sell this at a regular price, but we want to keep it as a discount price to get rid of all the inventory as soon as possible. So for that, I have moved into the USMF company. I will now move into the journals, trade agreement journals. I'll create a new discount journal here. Then I will go into the lines and I will choose my product, which is ECM USB type A cable. And I want to set a discount for a red color wire. So I will just choose my product. I will choose my color, and I will set the discount percentage to 50. So this is one of the process dependency tasks. I will go ahead and basically post this so that any new sales order going forward will have a discount, 50% discount on this product. So as you noticed, we completed a couple of dependency tasks. We stopped the purchase orders. We basically created a discount journal so that this item can be sold at a discount. Now I will go back and complete my process dependency task. So I will go back to my task assigned to me into the common, and I will go back to my change order, and I will go ahead and complete that particular task, which was to check all the dependency and making sure that those have been taken care of. So now the next step is basically to release this change into the engineering organization. Now in this case, we are not creating a new engineering version because it's as the same engineering version. We are just changing the product lifecycle state. So the engineering version in the engineering organization is already active, but we want to make sure as part of this step is that this product version is active, as well as the product lifecycle state has been changed to end of life. So as you can see, for the red product, we have the product lifecycle state changed to end of life. So I have verified that everything is looking good in my engineering organization, and now I am ready to basically complete this task. And as part of that, other automated steps will execute, which will basically release this product from engineering organization into the operational legal entities. So now I will complete this work. So, so this is a complete of the specific task, the product release task. This is not completing of a change order, just to kind of know the difference. You can look at the view history of this entire change order. So as you can know, it starts with basically approving a change order. And after that, we have basically a couple of steps. So one is to check the business impact. One is to check the activation of the product in the engineering organization. And once that is done, then the workflow will basically automatically release all the changes from engineering organization into the operational legal entity. Okay, so I think at this moment, we are almost at the end of our change order process. We still have to complete the change order, but before we do that, we would again like to go into the USMF company to make sure that whether the product has the product life cycle state updated to end of life. So we'll verify that by going into the USMF company. We'll go into our product. release products, which is USB type A wire. And we'll look at the engineering version for the red wire and verify that the product life cycle state has been updated into end of life. So as you can see, it's been updated. Now, I just wanted to quickly show you one more thing, that we have enabled the end of life product life cycle only with sales orders, and that also with warning. So let's see what happens if I go ahead and create a new sales order. Basically, what we should be expecting is, when we create a new sales order, we should be allowed to create a new sales order, but with a discounted price. So now, once we go and create a new sales order, I will add a new item. Basically, our item is SCM USB Type A cable. And we'll choose a variant which is a red color wire. And now, as you can see, the price was $14.99, but we have a discounted automatically coming through the trade agreements. And now the price has changed to 7.5. So this is how you can basically complete your process dependency task before you kind of make sure that any new change or new sales order will be created for this product. And you will see this kind of warning as well. Okay, now we also made sure in our product lifecycle state setup that there is no other transactions allowed other than sales order. So let's try and create a new purchase order and see what happens, whether it will allow us to do these transactions or not, just to verify that our process is working end to end. So we'll create a new purchase order and we'll choose the same item in our purchase order line to make sure if we can place an order for this item. What we should expect here is we should not be allowed to do a transaction for this item. So as soon as I save it, as you can see, there is a different message, and this is actually an error message. The previous one which we saw in the sales order was a warning, and it still allowed us to continue. But in this case, it will not allow us to continue. That means our process is working fine. No other transactions other than sales orders are allowed. So just to complete the whole process, basically, we'll now go back into our DEMF company, and because everything is looking good in terms of our process, we will basically go ahead and complete the change order. So this change order completion, which I'm showing you, is actually a manual step, but as we discussed in the workflow slide, you can actually automate this step as well. You can configure the automatic completion of workflow in your workflow, and it will automatically mark this change order as complete. But I just wanted to show you how you can configure the manual step as well as automated step throughout your business process. Okay, I think moving on to the next section, now that we have concluded our two demos with two examples, one is the product obsolete process and product end of life process. Next, in this section, we would like to discuss about engineering product lifecycle implementation scenario and the data migration process. So we'll mainly review two implementation scenarios. Along with that, we will also recap some of the prerequisites and guidelines, along with the list of data entities which you can use to basically import the engineering products. Also, we'll share some details of some of the data entities, how you can update some of the product details, how you can import BOMs and formulas for engineering products and things like that. So let's look at all those details in our next section. So depending on where you are in your implementation journey, there are a couple of options to implement and getting on board with the engineering change management. So the first option is, if you are already using Dynamics 365 SCM, but haven't used engineering change management module and would like to use it to maybe convert your products into the engineering products. If you are already alive, then you would first try this in sandbox environment, and after careful consideration, configuration and testing only, you will perform these steps into the production environment. So at a high level steps, if you see, you have to first enable the ECM module. You have to set up all the prerequisites data, and there is a function available to basically convert a regular products into an engineering products. The second option is a new implementation, like where you are replacing your legacy ERP or other product management systems, and going forward, Dynamics 365 SCM will be your master of records. So how you can begin using the engineering change management to manage your engineering products. So you need to enable ECM and then complete any prerequisites. Then you can use the out-of-box data entities and data management framework to import products as an engineering products, along with other product related information such as like default order settings or bombs or routes and things like that. So these are the two main scenarios which you will basically run into if you are thinking of implementing ECM. Now let us quickly recap some of the prerequisites which you need to consider and configure. Each of these prerequisites we have actually covered in detail in our previous Tech Talk series. So in case you have missed that, you could refer those and get more understanding. So you need to enable engineering change management and related features into the feature management. You need to enable the engineering change management and version dimension in the license configuration. The very first and important step is like create a setup of engineering organization. Then carefully consider different options of setting up the engineering product category, where you will set up your product type, product subtype, production type, if you want to track versions in the transactions or not, and things like that. Then you will also set up your release policy and readiness policy and associate it with the engineering product category. And finally, you want to set up the product owners who are responsible for specific category of products. Now, let's go through the first scenario. What should be the process and key consideration when you're planning to convert the existing products to the engineering products? So first setup is engineering organization. You want to make sure you have a legal entity which is set up to maintain your engineering products. You want to keep the engineering product management function in the separate organization where you only manage the products and don't perform any transactions. Then use the standard release product function to release the product to the engineering organization. Because it is possible that you are currently using a product in your operational legal entity, and when you set up a new engineering organization, that product does not exist in the engineering organization. Hence, you will have to first release the product to the engineering organization and then follow the conversion process in the engineering organization. Then set up the engineering product category. What will be the product type? What should be the product subtype? What should be the right production type for this product, engineering product? Couple of things which you have to keep in mind while setting up the engineering product category. The first thing is product dimension. Product dimensions will not be allowed to change if the product has currently, whatever the product has current dimensions. For example, let's say product has currently two dimensions, color and style. So when you convert the product to the engineering product, you must use the same product dimension. You will not be able to add any other product dimension to that product. And since you have to use the same product dimension, you cannot use the version dimension as part of the new product dimension group. So due to this, you will also not be able to track the version dimension in the transactions. However, important thing to understand is you can still have different engineering version of the product, but you will not be able to track version as a variant. As discussed in the previous step, if you're converting existing product to the engineering product, you must set up the product dimension group, same as current product dimension group. Also, you have to define your release policy and readiness check policy and associate it with the product category. Now, once you're done with all the setups and configuration, and you can now use the convert product to engineering product function, where you must associate a product to engineering product category defined in the previous steps. So you will first convert product to the engineering product into the engineering legal entity. You will then set up the BOM, formula, or routes for that engineering product version and any other product details in that engineering legal entity. So once engineering product is ready, all the details have been filled in for a product, all the BOM route formula details have been specified for an engineering product. And if it's now ready, you can basically release that product from engineering organization into your operational legal entity. So this is the whole process of, this is how you will basically tackle if you would like to convert an existing products to an engineering products. Now let's review the second scenario. What should be the process and key consideration when you are planning to import product as engineering products? Again, the first setup is the same. You have to make sure that you have an engineering organization set up. You want to make sure you have a legal entity which is set up to maintain your engineering products. Another same important thing is to set up the engineering product category. You would like to carefully consider what product type, subtype, production type you will set up for these new engineering products. And then you will carefully consider if these products will be if you want to track the version in the transactions for a specific product. If you want to track, then you must include product dimension group, which has a version dimension, and it should be active. So with any other product dimension which you want to have as a variance. Also define your product release policy and readiness policy and associate it with the engineering product category. And then the next important step is basically import the products into the engineering organization. So for this process, you have to first identify all the data entities which we have available out of the box for the engineering change management. So you will identify the data entities available for creating the engineering products. You will identify the data entities for importing the other details of the engineering products. Then you will basically look for data entities through which you can basically import the BOM and route details. Now, the important thing is when you import BOM and route details, those will be imported against the engineering version. So once you identify all the data entities, you will basically generate the template. You will fill in all the details with the products and its related details. And then you should use basically a data management framework to basically import all the products. One thing which you can consider, if you have a large volume of products, you want to basically consider some of the best practices and guidelines for data import. I would like to mention a couple of best practices here. One is like you can set up to run these imports in batch. You can also set up to set up a priority-based batch scheduling so that you can utilize your batch servers optimally. You can basically do a parallel processing of number of records through the number of threads set up for each batch server. You can also set up number of record count which you would like to process in each thread, which you can set up for any specific data entity. So these are some of the things which you can basically consider if you are thinking of importing a high volume transaction. So note that when you import engineering product, system not only create the engineering product, but it will also create the engineering product version with it. So once engineering products are created, you need to import other product details such as unit of measure, default order settings, and these details needs to be imported against a product. But if you would like to import BOM, formula, or route for engineering product, these details needs to be imported for a specific engineering product version. Once all the product details are imported and engineering product is ready with all the details, it will now be released to the operational legal entity to basically perform any sales, purchase, or inventory transactions. So this is what the high-level process looks like if you are trying to implement engineering change management module as a new implementation, or if you're planning to bring products from other systems into the Dynamics 365 SCM using the engineering change management. Now, let's drill down and go through some of the data entities available out of the box to help with data import of the engineering product. So to import new engineering product, you need to use released engineering product creation v2 entity. Some of the key fields you will notice in this entity are product ID, product name, version, engineering product category, and product owners. So using this information, basically you will be able to import data into as an engineering product, and it will create the engineering product as well as version into the system. Then you can use the release products v2 entity to update other product related details. For example, you can update other details such as item group, unit of measure. Then you can use other entities for default order settings and things like that. But before you do that, you want to first make sure that you have used this released engineering product creation v2 entity to bring in your engineering products and its version. To import BOM, you will basically use bill of material headers and version and bill of materials line v3 entity. As I mentioned in the previous slide, that when you want to import BOM, BOM needs to be associated with the project engineering version. So make sure in your bill of materials header and version template, you specify the correct engineering version with which you want to associate your BOM. Like BOM, you can basically import formula and formula lines using the formula header and version v3 and formula lines v2 entities. Again, in the formula header entity, you need to specify engineering version for which you want to import and associate your formula. And for importing route details for a specific engineering product version, you can use the route header, route version v2, and route operations v2 entities. There are also out-of-the-box data entities for change order. These entities can be utilized if there is an integration with other product management systems and you would like to track and record changes within Dynamics 365 SCM for engineering products. So in that scenario, you can basically use change order and other related entities for change orders. So to import change order, there are two entities, engineering change order header and engineering change order products v3. So engineering change order product v3 entity will be able to identify the product impact, if it is a new product from an existing product, if it's a new variant or a new version. Once you have change order header and change order product details imported, you can also import the bill of materials for the impacted product using the engineering change order product bill of materials headers v2 and engineering change order product bill of materials lines v2 entity. Similarly, you can import formula for the impacted products. And then finally, you also have entities available to import route details against that impacted products. And for that purpose, you should look for these entities. Okay, with that, I will just hand it over to Anne for the wrap up and some of the resources to share with you.
All right, thanks, Hiren. Let's talk about the resources that you can use for getting additional details on engineering change management. So we have a few links to existing Microsoft documentation. So there's the engineering change management overview, which has links to a bunch of additional articles talking about the different functionality and how to configure it. And we've also linked specifically to the enable change management on existing products, which is the process Hiren walked through earlier. So if you want to see the documentation on that, we have an article that talks about that. We've also got links to our previous tech talks in this ECM series. As we mentioned, the recordings are available on the Dynamics community site. And then there is a Yammer group on the Power Platform and Dynamics Insider program called Engineering Change Management, which you can use to ask questions from other users in the community, as well as get direct feedback from the product team. And then, of course, we always want to hear your feedback on our product and how we can make it better. So if you have any feedback you'd like to share, please log an idea at the ideas site, which is linked at the bottom of the page here, and take some time to look at other ideas and vote on any that are applicable to you. So with that, let's find out the answer to our riddle, which was, what do you call a retired vegetable? A has-been.
That's
All right.
funny.
Yeah. I think it's my favorite one we've done in this series. Okay, so let's go to Q&A. We only have one question in the chat, which is, can we configure multiple business processes for end of life relating to the example we talked about in the beginning? So a couple things there. End of life was in product lifecycle state that we configured, which we showed earlier in the presentation, and we chose that the only thing we would allow would be sales orders, and we had enable with warning. But you'll notice that that was configurable. So if you have an end of life state that you want to allow more than just sales orders, you can control that at a process level, which processes are enabled. You could also set up multiple product lifecycle states for each way that you need to control your items. So if you want to do an end of life sales only, and then an end of life sales and purchases only for whatever reason, you could have as many lifecycle states as you need to control the process. And then talking about the larger business process of product retirement, there are ways that you can configure it to behave differently for different reasons. So you could create different engineering change order categories for the different processes you might have related to retirement. And you can use that to drive different workflows for different kinds of approvals that you might need as well. Because like retiring a semi-finished good versus a finished good may have a different process with different people you need to incorporate. And it looks like that is the only question that we have. If you come up with additional questions, please feel free to reach out to us or reach out on the Yammer group that we posted earlier in the slide deck. Thank you for your time today. I'm going to hand it back over to David to wrap us up.
All right. Thank you, Anne. So I've posted a link to a short survey in the Q&A panel. We'd like your feedback on today's session and hear what you'd like to see in future events. Thank you for your participation. As a reminder, the recording of today's session will be available on the TechTalk's Community Dynamics page within the coming weeks. I'd like to extend a big thank you to our presenters and audience for joining us today.